Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Now, when you look at Proverbs chapter 21, verse 12, it says, "The righteous man wisely consider the house of the wicked, but God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness." Now the question is, if the righteous man should wisely consider the house of the wicked, who is the wicked? Who is the wicked according to the Bible, and especially King Solomon and King David? Who is the wicked? Now, when you go to the main scripture that is used to identify the wicked, you go to Malachi chapter 1. Malachi chapter 1. And it says, in verse 4, in Malachi, it says, "Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever." So people is going to call the nation of Edom the border of wickedness. So when you look at what King Solomon, through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, penned in his writings, it says, "The righteous man will wisely consider the house of the wicked." Pretty much saying that they will wisely consider the house of Edom, because Edom is the border of wickedness. Now let's go into Psalms. Let's go into Psalms and see if we can get an understanding of these so-called Edomites. What does King David, what kind of understanding did King David present? Now, when you look at Psalm 17, and let's see, chapter verse 13, it gives you an understanding of this nation of Edom, the wicked. It says, "Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword," or your sword. Verse 14 gives you another deeper understanding of this nation called the wicked, the nation of Edom. It says, "From men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life." You see, who have their portion in this life? Because we know the next life is for Jacob. But the blessing of this life is for the nation of Edom. And it goes on to say in verse 14, "And whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. For they are full of children, and they leave the rest of their substance to their babes." You see, so the nation of Edom is in their blessing, and they have their blessing for this life. This world is for the nation of Edom. You see, now let's get that in Genesis. Let's get that in Genesis and in Numbers. But I'm going to go with Genesis first. Let's get that in Genesis 27. Genesis 27. It is the beginning of the nation of Edom and their blessing. Genesis 27, starting at verse 38. It says, Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heaven from above. So he's saying, you shall have rulership. You should have a rulership and a blessing. Okay? And this is how his blessing was going to be in verse 40. And by thy sword thou shalt live and serve thy brother, but it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou, or the rulership, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So it's going to be a period of time where the Israelites or Jacob's children would be ruling, and then Esau would come and break the yoke that they had on them off of their neck, and then they would start ruling and have the rulership at that point. Now, when you go to, let's see what we got. It's 7 minutes. Well, let's get another confirmation in the New Testament, because I know these wacky Christians, they're going to say, well, that's the Old Testament. Let's back it up with the New Testament. That Esau was given the blessing to rule the world. He was given the blessing to rule the world. Now let's see, chapter 12, or chapter 11. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's chapter 11. Chapter 11, verse 20. It says, by faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau. So Esau was given the blessing, because you got some of these wacky Christians and these Edomites, they done put in these newer versions of the Bible that Esau didn't get a blessing, and he had to live away from the blessing. But Hebrews clearly say that that Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau. Both of them had a blessing, and we're living in Esau's blessing, like Psalm 17:13 say that their portion is of this life. Their blessing is mainly of this life. Now let's go into the next life. What is going to be the situation with the nation of Edom? Now the nation of Edom has the Israelites, or the children of Jacob, in captivity under them. So when you go to Isaiah, it lets you know what's going to happen when their world come to an end, or their blessing come to an end. And we're going to get right to the point in verse 2. It's saying, the people shall take them, talking about the Edomites, and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them, talking about the Edomites, in the land of the Lord for the servants and handmaids, slaves, servants. And they shall take them captives, who captive they were. The Israelites was captives or slaves of the Edomites, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So the house of Israel, the slaves or the servants of the world, will be ruling after Esau children rule. You see? And so that's what's going to happen next. So these Edomites rulership is right now, and it's going to be the end of them when Jacob regained the throne, when Yahweh Shah, who they even call Jesus Christ, cracked the sky and come uh, redeem the nation of Israel like that was prophesied. So when you go into uh, Proverbs 21:12, and it says, the righteous man uh, will wisely consider the house of the wicked. It's talking about he will wisely consider the house of Edom. He will study them. He will understand their purpose and their prophecies and their future and how you deal with them and everything. And so that's what I wanted to bring out in the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah Ba'Shem and Kakadash. Double honors to the elders pushing the truth. Peace to the elect worldwide. The kingdom is at hand. Shalom.